Welcome, everybody, to the college basketball preview show on the Gruely True Sports Network. Today, we're going to look at tonight's battle between the Minnesota Golden Gophers and the Indiana Hoosiers. Indiana right now is favored by 10.5 points. The game will be played at Assembly Hall in Bloomington, Indiana. I'm your host, Mike Goodpaster, and before we get started, I want to recommend to you the top sportsbook for betting on college basketball, BetMGM. You can click on the link in the description down below in this video. All right, guys, tonight, Minnesota, Indiana, both begin the Big Ten basketball season conference schedule for them. And this is a game Indiana is favored by 10 to 10.5 points. Moneyline bet is minus 535 for Indiana. The total is set at 140.5. The game will be at 6:30 tonight. And when we look at these two teams, the Minnesota Golden Gophers took a beating against Michigan State in their Big Ten opener. It's IU's opener tonight. Minnesota lost their first Big Ten game at home in the barn in Minnesota, 90-72. Virtually any game that finishes with more than 80 points scored is a loss for the Golden Gophers. They need to be sound defensively and slow the game down. They could not do that against Tom Izzo's Michigan State Spartans. The Gophers have been tormented by injuries all season long. Several key cogs, including D3 import Caleb Williams and Toledo transfer Tyler Cochran. They haven't had a fully healthy roster in any game, but the good news is guard Mike Mitchell Jr. is back. Mitchell came off the bench for the Gophers at his return. He's one of the most important players on this roster. So why is Minnesota shaping up as one of the worst teams in the Big Ten? Well, one simple thing. Minnesota is terrible on offense. They have scored more than 70 points just twice this year, including in their 18-point loss to the Spartans. Some of the lower point totals are related to tempo. They rank 356 in adjusted tempo, where the Gophers want to slow games to a halt. Hard to score points by slowing a game to a halt. Now, Dawson Garcia is a lone trustworthy scoring option for the Gophers. He's phenomenal, but he needs more help surrounding him. An all Big Ten selection last year, Garcia has continued his strong play, averaging 19 points, 7.5 rebounds per game. To win road games in the Big Ten, Minnesota needs to solve these shooting problems, and Ben Johnson's squad wants to work the offense inside out, but nobody respects the Gopher shooting. They're just 29% from three-point range. While Minnesota insists on every game being a slugfest, Indiana has won 3 consecutive games by 16-plus points against Providence, Sam Houston, and Miami. Those aren't high-quality wins, but win by double digits, and they can put points on the board. Now, when we look at the Hoosiers, they have flaws from a roster standpoint, but the talent is undeniable in Indiana. I don't love the fit of Mackenzie Mbaku, Malik Renew, and Umar Ballo from a defensive or floor spacing perspective, especially. Shooting has actually proven to be a strength of Indiana's attack, though. The Hoosiers are 36% from three this year. One of the primary reasons for the surge is Mbaku, a 47% shooter, and Washington State transfer Miles Rice, who was 41% from three. Rice represents something the Hoosiers lacked last year, a go-to guard who could create offense. The Hoosiers' best path to making my best bet a winner is pushing the pace. We've already seen Minnesota can't compete in a game in the 80-plus range. The Gophers simply don't have enough, scoring to battle in a shootout. We say Indiana scored 80-plus points in 5 games this year, and they rank 51st in tempo. If the Hoosiers make this a full court game, Minnesota will not have a good chance to cover this spread. Now, I really hope head coach Mike Woodson saw why the Hoosier offense was dreadful in that Louisville loss and fixes it here. In that game, Indiana could have dumped the ball to Ballo and scored whenever it wanted, but the offense had zero interest in feeding the big man after the first couple minutes. Ballo is 7 feet tall, 265 pounds. He's taller and over 30 pounds heavier than Dawson Garcia. The veteran Hoosier big doesn't even need to score. Just get Garcia in foul trouble, and the game's over right there because he's Minnesota's main scoring threat. Hell, he might be the only scoring threat. At times, effort appears to be an issue for Indiana on the defensive end. Consistent, lazy rotations and lacking attention to detail have led to countless issues for the Hoosiers. But I love Indiana here. Their closest call at home was an 11-point win over UNC Greensboro. Otherwise, it's been a lot of blowout wins in the friendly confines. I have a hard time picturing this being being a tight game if Indiana is able to control the pace and feed its bigs. Just about every angle favors them. Pace, talent, home court advantage, and depth. There's no reason why the Hoosiers should not walk away with a easy double-digit victory tonight. With that being said, I wouldn't throw a lot of money on this because we've seen that Indiana struggles from time to time during games. They'll go through a 5-minute dry spurt here. The good thing about it, though, against Minnesota, if you go through a 5-minute dry spurt, if they're playing like normal, they might score 4 to 6 points. So you'll be all right there. So I think tonight the Indiana Hoosiers will start off Big Ten play with an 85-62 win over the Minnesota Golden Gophers. Go to BetMGM, bet the Hoosiers minus 10.5, and you'll make a little bit of money tonight. All right, guys, remember, follow me at X, at Grueling Truth. You can go like, subscribe, hit the bell notification on YouTube. Make sure you go find our Facebook page, like and follow us there. But for now, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been watching and listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.